Oh, what are we talking about?
We'll see. Yeah, I'll throw it out. But you remember last time? I mean, we'll probably again. Usually we don't introduce topics, but because we all have a history in youth ministry and stuff, and just seeing for the next generation, so some of that will come up. But the beautiful thing about what BTL is it's just conversational. And so we'll wait for our Waters to come in.
Is there going to be a fourth person?
Nope. It's just going to be us three, which will be great. So are we rolling?
We are rolling.
Okay, cool. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to Beyond the Letter podcast. I know I don't look like Adam because I'm your guest host right now. He's doing business as he does. I'm your guest host, Sammy Rodriguez. And we have Pastor Allan from One and All Church here at the table. You might have remembered him from our YA and Friends podcast that we did, as well as other things which he'll talk about. And then we also have Pastor Haron here at the table. And I'm excited. I feel like this is such a great group. I was thinking about, some of you guys have heard probably from the Beyond I Do when we did it, because Adam brought up with Ashley and my wife Chandler that I give a lot of yups. Okay. So, yup, when I'm talking. So, now I want to let you know, there's been 10 to 20 people that have come up to me and said, don't stop your yups.
I was just going to say, don't stop doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I like it.
Thank you, Alizé.
Yep.
Thank you, Alizé. Look at this.
Let's go. Thank you.
Haron needs 2 waters, because he's a double portion. He's a double portion. But anyway, so people came up. People even gave me, one guy gave me, sorry, I don't remember his name right now, but he gave me a T-shirt that says yup.
Wow.
Literally.
Where did he find that? Wow. Was that custom?
He custom made it. Yeah. He gave it to me. So the yups might be limited, but they won't stop because you got to agree with it. But
just be you, man.
Right?
I like you for you.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah, you can go. You can yup me.
Thank you so much. Tell people. I mean, people know about you and they've been on the pod, but just share a little bit about who you are, what you're doing, what you're excited for. You're also, which will be really cool to hear, is you're doing, and I told you this on IG, you're doing an end of the year kind of Zoom.
Yeah.
That you're doing. It will probably already be done, but you'll probably do more for youth pastors, young adults. So share some of those things too.
Yeah. So my name's Allan, like you mentioned. I'm a youth and young adult pastor, so I get to do both. It's a privilege to do both. I get asked all the time, what would I rather do?
Yeah.
I think I've had a grace to do young adult ministry at the level that we've done it.
Right.
But I prefer youth ministry all day long. I love high school students.
Which is crazy because you don't usually, I feel like, usually hear the opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's cool. I'd love to hear.
I do hear the opposite. And I get why. It's because the parents are a headache and you do things and they snitch on you and tell and you get in trouble. And I get all that stuff.
Yeah.
But man, I got the trust of my parents, so I don't really have to worry about a lot of that stuff. If anything, I hear more complaints from young adults. They're just always complaining. The students, they're happy to be there and we feed them. And so they're happy,
That's
so
cool.
Love youth ministry. We do it. And it's incredible. The end of the year thing happened because I had some friends just kind of tell me, I need help. I got to figure out 2026. I can't do what I did last year. And this year I did this thing. So I used to be into fitness. I used to be into working out and all that kind of stuff.
It's true. There's pictures. I saw it. We're not going to show any here.
They're hidden.
But he was young.
You got to sign an NDA to see those. Yeah. So I did this thing at the beginning of 2025 where, have you heard of the 75 hard?
Yep.
So it's you got to read 10 pages of a book and you have to drink water and do 2 workouts a day.
Yep.
I made a group chat. I just put it on Instagram for anybody who wanted to be a part of it. It called it 75 Holy. And it was do a workout a day, read a chapter of the Bible a day. You have to do all these. So I blended the faith with the fitness. And that's kind of those are the 2 backgrounds that I have. So I
just
put them
one
together.
Workout? Or did you do 2?
It was just one because I feel like, you got to do the spiritual workout.
Yeah.
I think, the Bible was hard enough. So it was kind of do these things, drink your water, do all that stuff.
Yeah.
And there was 200 people in this group chat. And it was like this. I posted it one time. People went crazy on it. And what kind of ruined it was those LA fires in January. So we had great momentum. It was going crazy. People were sharing their workouts.
Yeah.
It was a community where people were planning to work out with each other. People who had never met each other didn't realize that they had other friends that both had the same interest, fitness and faith.
Yeah.
So they were coming together, working out together, and it was really cool. The fires kind of ruined the momentum. And I'm like, dang, I really want to, I wish I could do that again. So people from that chat hit me up to hey, I didn't really capitalize or continue what we did at the beginning of 2025 for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Are you planning on doing that again? Or would you
Are you going to do it again?
I'm debating.
Yeah.
I'm really debating because it was
right?
A lot of time.
Yeah, it's a whole nother job for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
But it kept me accountable, which is also like the more time consuming part because I'm like, dang,
Right.
I really got to get my workout in because I'm doing this 75 days straight.
Yeah.
By day 11, I was cooked, you know? So, so I got to be able to commit to that. But yeah, so it was some of those people from that group chat and they asked me, hey, would you do something again? And I figured, man, the Zoom call wave is kind of a thing right now. It's an easy way for me to just gather people.
For sure.
And I don't think that I know everything, but I'm like, you know what? I think I've had some success in my life at the beginning of the year. I'm all about the new beginnings. I'm all about all that kind of stuff. And it is an opportunity for momentum. It is an opportunity to start something new, build new habits, create a new version of yourself. So I just put it out there. Hey, if anybody wants to do this, let me know. There's like 300 people signed up for this thing.
Amazing.
And about 30 youth pastors reached out to me. Wow. And they're like, is this for ministry? And I got like one, and I got another one. I got a couple text messages, and I was like, this isn't for ministry. And to be honest, I never pictured myself as like the ministry expert. Right. I wanted to help young adults because I care about the young adults. In a way, and I don't mean this like rudely, I don't care about other pastors. Like I'm not the pastor that wants to pastor other pastors. I care about the young adults and I care about the students. And so I just wanted to help improve them, their life, be a way, help any way I can outside of like the church resources. And when pastors reach out to me, I'm like, I guess there's a need for this. So I did a second one. I'm like, hey, if you're a pastor and you just need a community, it wasn't even for the new year. I'm like, you need a community of people. Let's just gather. And I have over 200 something signed up for that. And because I just posted it on TikTok. I'm like, hey, if you're a pastor and you want to be on a Zoom call, like if you're interested, is this something that's worth doing? Let me know and leave a comment. And I've had hundreds of comments. And I did not even know that would happen. So,
cool.
We're going to do that. The Zoom call for youth is this Friday. It'll probably be done, or that will be done by the time. And then next Thursday, I have the young adult one. And so it really is just, I guess, a step of faith. I didn't think that many people were going to sign up for something like that.
So this one coming up is for pastors and then the young adult.
But
it might be already gone for the people that are listening to this now. So there's a good chance that Allan will have it continually going. I could see it continually going, whether it's monthly, quarterly.
Yeah.
So just be checked in on that, which is amazing.
But now I have the podcast.
Yeah, look at that.
So like that's a platform where we're like.
Oh, you have yours?
Yeah, the young adult podcast that we started.
Okay, so when did you start that?
So we started that about a month ago.
Okay.
And that came about because we did an original iteration of a young adult podcast through our young adult channel at church.
Yeah.
And that we did that for about 3-4 months. And it took off and it blew up quick. Like a lot of our Instagram followers on our One and All young adult account came from like the reels that were just going crazy.
Yeah.
And then after just a season, we realized this is time consuming. We needed way more help. I kind of transitioned to the youth role. A bunch of stuff happened and we just realized we just need to take a pause on it. We never really picked it back up.
For sure.
Priorities shifted. We realized, do we want to do this? Do we not want to do this? And as time has gone by, I've had other friends, leaders, pastors come to me and be like, you got to start that thing back up. And just kind of going through the church lens, they're just like, they kind of gave me permission to do my own thing. Like, hey, if you want to do this thing, go for it. And so
That's good.
I started it on my own. I had a friend be like, if you don't do this, a senior leader in the ministry say, if you don't start this, you're going to look back 5 years from now and see somebody else do it. And you're going to regret never doing it because there is no podcast for young adults. I mean, there's some that have maybe a younger audience, a reach, but they're all done. Most of them, they're done by influencers. They're done by people that maybe don't have the most ministry experience.
Right.
And I've been doing young adult ministry, 28 now. And again, I don't ever plan to be the expert. I'm just like, I just want to talk about some stuff that maybe young adults are curious about. And so that also kind of helped spark the Zoom thing.
So what's the podcast called?
It's called the Young Adult Podcast.
The Young Adult Podcast.
Yeah, I got the handle, the TikTok, the Instagram, the YouTube. Yeah, I got everything. So we're doing it. So yeah, that's just another, that's another platform where like, I don't know if I'll be doing Zoom calls all the time, but like I think based off of the response of what I get from the Zoom calls, problems people are having, things that they're going through, those are conversations I can have on a pod that I'm going to have you on.
Okay, let's do it. You tell me when.
Let's go.
And then what's also cool is obviously we have Haron here. He's a pastor here at Patria.
Legend.
You know what I was thinking of is, multiple. He's a legend here, not just in the region, but amongst youth ministry. But also I was thinking when we were at our conference together, this last one, whatever it was, 9 months ago, you guys were both on a panel together.
Yep.
Right? Talking youth ministry and what's it been. So some of the things that I was just like even thinking of is as we're at the table together and you kind of just even shared it, you were like, hey, I saw a need and I want to fill that need.
Yeah.
And so some of the things I was just thinking of is like, we could talk about our fun stories, our war stories, our the fun things we've done, the places that we failed. But I was thinking about really, because there's so many people I would say, and you could speak to it, U2H, is when people go, okay, I feel called, right? But then when they're saying I feel called, really they're just chasing influence and not just even calling, right? And so I think one of the big questions, even when we talk about for young adults, for youth, I think for anyone is, man, how do you know when you're called? So like, I'll start with you, H. Like when you initially jumped into ministry or whatever, like how did you know you were called? And like I'll share my aspect in a second, but it's not always like people want just such a clear thing, right? It's almost like God came down.
The voice of the Lord.
And 17 doves spelt out my name and said, this is, no, it's not that. It's stepping out in faith, right? But like for you, when you think of calling, when you think of clout or influence, like when you think of that, but even for you personally, like how did that come about?
Yeah, I mean, I'll share my backstory.
Yeah.
So, I get saved at a youth conference in San Diego. Louis Giglio is the speaker. Jeremy Camp is the worship leader.
Okay, hey, that's big dog.
Good stuff.
This is years ago. I don't know how many years ago I've been saved. But from that day, back in the days, we had CDs. And so I had all the CDs. I started throwing them out. Like it was a sign like, hey, if I'm going to follow Jesus, here's one act to do that. And when I did that, me and my cousin met in our room. We're like, hey, let's start a Bible study at the college you're attending. So we started a Bible study at Cal State San Bernardino.
Wow.
With 50 students.
Whoa.
And it was from that Bible study I felt this like conviction. I felt this burden to want to learn the Bible. And so I get on the radio. I listen to Erwin Lutzer, R.C. Sproul, and John MacArthur, all those guys, they're contemporaries, and I would take their sermons and preach that at the Bible study.
I love that.
Because I had no experience. I had no, no understanding. I had no basis. I just knew that I got saved. We started a Bible study. And from there, I was like, man, I need to go to Bible school.
Wow.
And so applied to Master's College, got my degree there. And from there, I felt the need just to continue to help people. And so we started a ministry at Skid Row Ministry with 20 students. We would gather on Friday nights.
No way.
Buy Del Taco and get water bottles and hand them out to homeless people.
Wow.
Every Friday. So I guess for me, the call wasn't like clear. It was just a burden and conviction to help people.
That's so good.
From college students at Cal State San Bernardino to Skid Row homeless people. And from there, I took some classes on pastoral ministry to see if this is something I wanted to do. I knew I was called to ministry, but I didn't know at what capacity. I just knew that there was a burden and there was a responsibility that I needed to help people with. And from there, God filtered the rest.
So good.
And so I would say like calling is definitely slow. It's not fast, right? I think, you know the difference.
Yeah.
If the passion dies and if there's no audience, will you still pursue ministry?
For sure.
Yeah, that's so good. No, you know what I was thinking of? Well, first off, that's so I didn't know a bunch of that.
So
That's
cool.
so. But I love how you get saved, right? First off, that's a goated camp, right? Louis and Jeremy.
Yeah.
Like if you don't know, go and check those guys out. And then I love how H, what he does is you go, let me just gather people. And to me, I feel like from what you guys are both saying, and I want to hear from you, and then I'll share mine. But it's like you go until God says no. And I think a lot of times what happens is we feel like we have to have everything in order, right? Like you feel like you have to be like, I have to have this and this and this. No, you got saved, you felt inspired, and you're like, let me step out in faith. And I think, we're talking about youth ministry, we're talking about our experience, us getting saved, but at the same time, for anyone who feels stuck, it's because we feel like we need all the information. But look, anyone in the Bible, anyone in the Bible has a call of God on their life? Do they always have all the information? No way.
Yeah, no way.
Think about Moses, right? He gets all the people out of Egypt, and then all the Israelites are like, you brought us here so we could die here. And Moses is like, what am I going to do? He's like, just be silent, just wait. Puts his staff in there, and the Red Sea split. He never seen that happen before. And so I think in the same way, it's like, as we start to walk into it, and even we talk about calling, you feel a call and a burden, and you start stepping out in faith. It's not the full picture, but God shows you little by little. And what I love about it is like you did the ministry at your college, and then Skid Row and all this stuff. And now, how many years later? 20? How many years in ministry aspect would you say that you've been in now? Over probably 20 years,
probably
right?
Over 20, yeah.
Now look at where you're at, a pastor on staff and all this stuff. And so much of the time, I like what you said, is that we want it to go so much faster. And it's really just about enjoying the moment and not speeding it up, not being that microwave generation. So, but I think that's incredible. How about for you? Like when you think about calling, influence, like, and even like, I love how H shared, like, even for you, like, what was that like for you when you got called from God, when you gave your life to the Lord? Like, and then think about that. That's what's really cool. Because now for you, you're probably close to a decade in ministry.
Yeah.
So what is that for you?
Yeah, I think it's funny that you mentioned Moses. Now I think about it, it just like triggered a thought that like, we always want like the burning bush moment, like you want the voice of the Lord to speak, the angel of the Lord, and this is what you're going to do, and whatever. It looked different for me because if you look at the life of Moses, you have the theme of rescuer on his life. Like he is rescued as a kid, or as a baby. There's like this holy discontent in him. He kills the Egyptian man because he's so angry. Like he does that. He rescues Jethro's flock. He gives them water, and then he has the burning bush moment. He's like, well, what am I going to do? Where am I going to go? But this theme rescuer was all over his life. Yeah. And then when God says like, hey, I'm going to deliver, or I want you to deliver my people. Yeah. He's like, well, what am I going to say? Well, I'll give you Aaron. What am I going to do? Who am I going to say sent me? Yeah. Here's the rod. Here's the staff. It turns into a snake. Put your hand in your cloak. All that stuff happens. And at the end, he goes, all right, Lord, that's cool, but send someone else. And it says like the Lord's anger burned with Moses. And I just figured like that theme was on his life, though he hadn't necessarily had the burning bush moment yet. Like he had just always been rescuing. And there's like this idea and this concept of we look at that and go, Moses was insecure. Like, oh, who am I going to say sent me? I have the speech thing. And is it insecurity or is it irresponsibility? Because he had always been the one to like rescue or have this theme of rescue all over his life. As I look at my childhood, I'm like, as a kid, I always wanted to give the homeless person the money. Like there was like this generosity that came out of me. My friends didn't have money. I'd always give them my food instead of like me eating, because I knew when I go back home, my parents are going to feed me. But these kids, some of them in my school, like they didn't have like lunch. I realized as I got older, graduated, I was in the fitness space and stuff like that. And I wanted to help people. And I was serving in youth. The problem is like in fitness, I could help you lose 20 pounds, but you can gain that 20 pounds right back. And the shift happened for me when I'm like preaching now in church. And I realized like, if you get your salvation, like, man, you're cool with God. Your life could change forever. You lose 20 pounds, you gain it right back. I never talk to you again. Right. But if I could lead you to the Lord, if I could help lead you to, change the trajectory of your generations that come after you because you have this encounter with God, then it just felt more rewarding to me. And there was like this burden of like, oh my gosh, my entire life I had this theme of wanting to help people all over my life. And there wasn't necessarily a burning bush moment until I had like, really was like an altar moment where I'm like, I got to give my entire life over to this thing. And as I look back, I realized there are moments of the season of life that I was in where I could see the theme on my life. It just hadn't looked like serving the Lord necessarily yet. And so I think the burning bush moment almost like looks different for me. But as I look at the life of Moses before he has the moment, then he does the thing. I feel like right now I'm walking in everything that had already been like in my life. It just now finally is looking like ministry. So, I mean, the moment for me was just realizing I was leading a small group of boys. Like it was middle school boys, started in 6th grade, and now they're graduated. They graduated last year. So that was 7 years or 8 years almost of the same students. Like we don't see that happening a lot of the time. And there's students.
And that's what you started with? That's what you started with, you would say. I mean, I know there's multiple other things.
I did like a couple different groups the first year, second year, and then that third year I started with the 6th grade boys, and then I led them all the way through. So cool. Lucas, who I brought to the dinner we went to the night, so that he was a 6th grader to me. So cool. And now he's 19 years old at a university getting his Christian education, and whatever I do in life, he's going to be there. He's like, like when he graduates or whatever, I'm trying to even hire him before he graduates college. I'm like, if you want to come back, I'll hire you. If you want to get your degree and come back, I'll hire you. If you want to, he's like, wherever you go, I'm going to go.
Would you say he's the best friend, a friend?
He's a friend now.
Okay.
Yeah, he's for sure a friend now. Like there's a respect pastor aspect, but you know, that we've had this joke, and there's even some high schoolers now. They're like, well, we want to do this or we want to go here. I'm like, look, like there is a clear boundary because you're still 16. But when you're 18, you graduate, there's like sides of me or places we can go or things that we can do. And it's not anything crazy, it's just like there are maybe certain conversations that I probably wouldn't let you in with, or certain things I don't want to talk to you about yet. But like there is a clear like, okay, though I'm still their young adult pastor, so it's a little different. Yeah. But there is a level of like, hey, you're out of your parents' house. Right. We're having adult conversations. Like students are in your dorm room doing inappropriate things. Like we can talk about stuff a little more unfiltered, I would say. You get a little more of my personality. There's some things I maybe have to hold back just to, just be clear with boundaries, But like now they're friends. I'm like, we're going to go beach house for the week. You want to come? And they're 18, 19. And I'm still discipling, and it's all love. But now it's like, big, it's real life. Big bro. Yes. And as I think about, again, more of my story of my life is like, I mentioned this on the last episode of the pod, but I have an older brother get stabbed and killed while I'm a kid. Yeah. And the burden for me for conviction for youth ministry was that I never had an older person in my life consistent. Like I didn't have a big brother. I had like spiritual fathers and mothers come in and out of my life and kind of like be there for me, but there was no big bro. So when I went through like things that had to do with girls, when I had to do things with, you know, drugs that I was doing or like, any question I may have had, I didn't have an older voice in my life to be there.
You had to do it yourself.
Yes. And anytime somebody would walk in, they'd walk out. It would be like a cousin or it would be an uncle and it would, you know, fight with the family and now they're not there for me anymore. And I'm like, there's like this reoccurring abandonment that I have to deal with. And that was the conviction for me leading the same kids for years. I'm like, I don't want to be the person that walks in their life and walks out. So I show up to group every single week and I'm faithful every single week and I don't leave this season. I'm going to continue to do what God has burdened on my life to do because I had an older brother taken from me and here I am available to do it. And what am I going to do? Just leave because I feel busy? Like, no. So that was such a conviction for me that I became a priority. Yeah. And that was the reason why I lasted. And it's the reason why I'm still here. There's times where I'm like, man, I don't want to quit this ministry. I'm done with whatever.
And then you get reminded from that for sure.
And then I look at a 16-year-old and I'm like, I can't leave you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So,
and I like what for both of you guys sharing, and then I'll share mine. But you look at what, like I said before, with H, gets radically encountered and saved and makes that commitment. 50 kids come to with you and your brother. You right? Was it your brother?
Cousin.
Or your cousin? You guys bring 50 at the college. For you, it's like you're getting radically changed. You didn't have that figure in your life. You see different elements in your life of generosity and aspects of spirituality. You become that. And then from 6th grade to 12th, that's amazing. 7 years walking with a group of guys, and you look at the fruit of that. And so to me, even as I think of calling, think of influence, because I think that's such a huge question, especially because I've been in full-time ministry. Next year will be 20 years for me, full-time ministry.
Dang.
20. Wow.
20 from a majority nonprofit space, but as you guys know, doing the residency, getting ready to church plant. But thinking, when I think of the original moment, right, when you first feel called, because I grew up in ministry, my parents were missionaries, 2 older sisters, the whole thing. But I was helping out a youth camp. Jeremy, what's his name? Jeremy's story what is his name? Jeremy Camp.
Jeremy Camp.
Yeah, and Louis was not speaking at this camp. This was Northern California, non-denom /AG camp. But I was at that time I was 17, graduated high school a year early. I loved God, but didn't want to do anything. I had a hard time with religion and more ministry. My plan was actually to come down to Southern California, down here, to do international business, go into law, wanted to make all kinds of money. And then my thought was, God, I love you, but we'll connect in my 30s and when I want to like settle down. Let me just kind of build my thing.
Yeah.
But even though I always knew, you know, if you're a minority, if you're Latino, you understand. You always have like 6 or 7 other moms, right? So your aunties are all your moms. Mijo, you got to call. I know. I get it. Well, in that moment, so we're in a youth camp. I had graduated high school early. We're in a youth camp, even though I'm still, you know, messing around in my lifestyle, partying, doing all those things. I still had a value. I had a draw towards things of God. But I call it WCBC, with Christ, but compromising, you know? So Holy Spirit falls in the like camp area. And if you think about it, it's kind of fun to see like 17, 18, 16, those years where God will mark people, right?
Yes.
So at 17, the speaker comes up to me. Worship is falling and said, hey, you got to call a God over your life. You're called to be a voice for a generation. You got to decide you're going to live for yourself or you're going to live what God has called you. It was one of those moments, even though I've heard that word like so much, it just was a moment that struck my heart where I said, you know what? I got to get right with God. Yeah. So my thought, right, was, hey, I'm going to do a gap year. I'm going to do just a 6 months, a year to focus on God, and then I'll go back into my plan. Well, 6 months turned into 20 years later. I'm still here, right?
Yes, God.
But when I think about calling versus influence, because I think the difference with the social media age, with Gen Z and Gen A, and to me, again, we've talked about this before, I'm a smack dab millennial. I love millennials. I love every generation. I love Gen Z. It's so funny. I love Gen Alpha's hilarious. Like I love
6'7".
Yeah, 6'7", right. I love how just each generation is. Yeah. It's just so fun. Yeah. We all have our weaknesses, but I think like when I think about calling, and I think that a lot of young adults and just even people in general, you don't have to be a young adult. If you're hearing this, you feel stuck and you want to say like, man, what's my calling? I think a lot of times we so worry about like, hey, I'll do this if I get the numbers that, you know, Pastor Allan, he's launching a Zoom in 200-300. Pastor Haron's doing a Bible study, 50 people. But here's what's so beautiful about both your stories and even my story too, is that it's walking with people.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what I'm going to do? I feel called from God, and all I need to do is be one step ahead of the people that I'm walking with.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's not about having all the right answers. It's just about gathering people and saying, hey, let's journey together towards the Lord. And so to me, when I think of calling, I think of influence. When I think of people getting stuck, I said this, I think I was sharing this at our conference when we had our breakouts. I talked about calling. And as I was praying with the Lord about it, it was this one line that like I've kept kind of thinking through and processing, is that we're so focused on what our calling is, but not focused on who is calling us.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like the biggest thing you could do when we talk about the big aspect of calling is, man, you focus on Jesus. And then the other aspect that I would say is not only just focus on Jesus, just be dedicated to radical servanthood. Don't feel like you got to figure out what you're going to do. Focus on who is calling you, and then radically serve. And I guarantee you, for your teenage or 20 years, once you get in your 30s, all that will start to figure it out. Because a lot of times we want the full picture, but we don't understand. No, I'm gonna focus on who is calling me. I'm gonna have a huge love for the word. I'm gonna have a love for worship, love for prayer, love for evangelism, and then I'm gonna gather people together. And then I just want to serve. Let me find a local church that is doing these things that I have a value for, and let me jump in to serve. And so, even in that aspect of as we're talking, is like I think of when I think of calling, and then I think of a lot of young people. They're like, I have a call of God over my life. They have influence, but they're like, do I need the church? You know, you ever like, do I need to be there? And so even talk to me and what hits you when you think of like, okay, people have a call, they have influence over their life. Why is it important? Why have we all stayed in the church?
Yeah.
Like, why have you stayed? Like, your TikTok is blowing up. You could easily be like, yo, church, see you. Let me build my ministry and do all this stuff. So like, why is it important for the people that feel called and they have influence and all this stuff? Why is it important to be a part of the church? Like, what's the importance of it?
Yeah, I always say often that it was Jesus that saved my soul, but it was the church that saved my life.
Yeah.
That it was spiritual mothers and fathers that sit in the gap. Like, if it isn't for a baseball coach, I'm not in church today.
Yeah.
You know? And I believe that I'm just the person to like kind of gather those spiritual mothers and fathers for the next generation. Yeah. It really is that, because I do have the conviction for these students. And this is maybe another reason why I love youth ministry more, but it's like I've gotten dreams about it. Like the Lord speaks to me through dreams and has given me words through like while I'm sleeping, I wake up, I write stuff down. Like I've driven by the middle school that I went to, and there's 100 kids running the mile or 500 kids running the mile. And I've like shed tears. I'm like, I guarantee there's probably 3 kids here that know Jesus. And I see them running the mile. And I'm like, I remember being that age, you know, I was just a few years removed from my brother dying, and like I needed nothing more than that. And I was in the church, you know, like how could I have been serving at 12, 13, needed Jesus, but like almost still missed him. So how much more of a responsibility do I feel like for the students? So I've literally stayed because I see that those who are planted in the house will flourish. I see that, you know, there's faithfulness that is needed in the house of God. And there have been so many people that come and go. The average lifespan of a youth pastor right now is 9 months. You know, what are we talking about?
9 months.
9 months is now the new statistic.
That's
and
wild.
so I see stuff like, I see this, you mentioned, you know, I'm going to do some stuff outside after I graduate and then come back when it's important. Like statistics will show that. It said like, I think close to 70% will, that grow up in church, leave the church after they turn 18 or graduate. But then the second statistic, the one that follows that, is the crazier one to me, that over 60% will come back when they either get married, have a kid, or turn 30. Wow. So there's this like innate knowing that the house of God is important, I have to be in the house, that I have to be in the church. Like you're a kid, you hear about God, you get the marking moment, but it's like, I'm just going to go out and like live some life, and then I'll come back when I turn 30 or when I have the kid, or when life has to get serious. I don't think life gets serious at 30. It might be serious for you at 13. And I've seen this generation take that serious. There's students who are quitting dance, volleyball, baseball, football, turning down D1 scholarships because there's a call of God on their life to do something, you know? And if I don't help pastor that generation, I'm the irresponsible one. Like if there's the conviction that I'm feeling to do it, and like, I could leave, you know, there's so many times that I could, like, I think this is maybe the unpopular thing. I can't see myself doing anything else. But there is still a part of me. There's like, maybe it's just 1% now, but it used to be 50. I don't want to do this. There's 100 other things that I probably would rather have done. That's what they say, you know, if you're doing this for a paycheck, if you're doing this for influence, go do something else.
100%.
Because I didn't really want to do this. I could have been more famous in the fitness space if I would have kept bodybuilding. I probably could have been more famous in the creative arts and stuff like that if that's really what I was chasing. But like the Lord called me to this, and I guess I'm going to do it. And the thing that I love about both of your stories, and I guess mine included, is leading small group boys isn't celebrated in middle school. Like I'm going to take a gap year. No one sees your gap year. You're talking about, I'm going to go feed the people in Screwed Row. You've probably never ran into any of them again. There is no like celebration. There's like a season of hiddenness, anonymity. I'm just going to do it because like the Lord called me. And I think the thing that has kind of kept me in the house has been like trying my best to go back to anonymity. Like I miss it. there's times where like, there is eyes on the ministry. There is eyes on every word that I preach. Like I do post stuff on TikTok because my students like, you have to post, and I'm like, all right. And actually picked up. And so I guess I'll do it.
Yeah.
There's so much of me though that doesn't want to do it.
Yeah.
Like it's come with so much criticism. It's come with backlash. It's come with people judging me. It's come with friends saying things about me to other pastors and whatever. And it comes back around to me. And I'm like, dang, the world would probably just be better if I just shut all this stuff down and kind of stop doing it. Like, do I have to be preaching all the time? Like, I'm in a season of my life, full transparency right now, where I'm like, I think I want to go back to doing the creative stuff because I had more joy editing my pastor's sermon clips, being behind the camera, making everyone else look good, because I know I can make everyone else look good better than I can make myself look good. Like, for me to look good, I need the Spirit of God to rest on me and to move through me. To make other people look good, I just use my gift and my skill and my creative talent. And so I'm like, I don't know if I really want to do, I know seasons come, but I'm still in the house because.
Yeah. And I think what I love about that, and thank you for the transparency, is that I think people might see you from afar and be like, yo, he's killing it.
Yeah.
He ain't struggling.
Yeah.
He's so encouraging. And I think like someone had told me that early in my 20s where like, you probably don't struggle with like anything. Like you just feel, I'm like, what? Like, how do you think that? Like, and so I think it's important, especially for people that have influence, right? To say, hey, it is hard. I do want to give up, but I don't. And even I think part of the reason why we don't give up is because we are planted in the house, right? We're encouraged, and we have people around that encourage us, say, keep going.
Yeah.
And seasons shift, right? Like you look at, we talked about Moses, is like, he thought he could activate his calling at 40. So his activation is to try and split up an argument, ends up killing an Egyptian, runs away. He's a shepherd for 40 years. That's what people don't get. It's the burning bush moment happened at 80. That's what's crazy. And so I think let's speed through it. Seasons are different in our life, but I think it's so important to know that be planted in the house, be here, be with people that in the midst of the struggle, you have people that have your arms that could hold it up. But like,
100%.
how about for you? Like when you think of, because I think it is a popular question where it's like, we're in a place where you can be, whether it be podcasts, whether it be through social media, through whatever aspect, you could have influence, you could do gatherings, and you don't technically need to be in a church where a lot of people are saying, why have you stayed? And why would you encourage like other people to stay as well? Because like even a little bit of your background, which people know, is like you were killing the high school, being on high schools. I think we still are at like close to 1,000 a week, gathering the high schools around here. That's something that you could have created and done and still partner with churches, but you're doing that through a local church. And again, me being in the nonprofit space, it's very rare to see that level of excellence of a pastor doing the Jesus clubs on the campuses. So like even for you, like in the midst of that, what do you think of like, why did you stay planted? Why do you encourage people like,
I mean, I would say, number one, church is essential. Not because I met my wife here. Not because I have 2 kids here. Not because I met my best friends here.
Right.
But you said the key word. You got to be planted. I think in order for you to flourish, not only as a man, as a husband, as a Christian, you got to have accountability. You got to have exampleship of men and women who walk down that path. And for me, like I need to see that. And so being part of a local church is embedded in that. Growing up, my dad would always say, hey, church is like your heart. You need it. And so I'm like, okay. Because, growing up, we'd be in church 7 days a week. I grew up Pentecost, Assemblies of God, Monday prayer, Tuesday prayer, Wednesday Bible study, But it wasn't just like a tradition or growing up like it was part of culture. But I soon realized that the church has everything you need.
Wow.
Mentally, physically, spiritually, and through that, I was able to grow. But I would kind of add on to that story about Jesus Club. The reason why it's successful now, is because 11 years ago, we stayed consistent with 3 students.
Good
in a room.
It's good.
So good.
And it was, it's called Jesus Club, but we launched a club called Real Talk. We wanted to have real conversations with real people. And it was different than other Christian clubs because our motto was like, it's for everyone. It's not just for the Christians. It's for the atheists. It's for the Muslim. And so through that, I think through the consistency and being diligent And I would say the secret sauce would be generosity, because we'd bring free pizza, free gift cards, free candy to 3 students. That just trickled. They invited people. The teachers heard about it, and now we support teachers. We buy them breakfast. And they have prayer meetings. We go to the we go to the football games, and we lead the chapels sometimes, or we pray in front of the assembly sometimes. So there's so many avenues, but people don't realize the struggle was being consistent for a year or 2 with just 3.
Wow.
Can you do that?
Yeah.
Versus I have 1,000, I have 500, I have 400. Can you be consistent with the small things?
Yeah.
Wow. Yes.
And God sees a faithfulness in that. Like when David was faithful to bring the cheese and bread to his brothers, right? He was faithful to bring that small thing, and God elevated him to where he was, one of the greatest kings in Israel history. So are you faithful with the small things? And I think that faithfulness was seen in the church.
Yeah.
I'm seeing men and women being faithful with the small things.
Yeah.
And people who have money being faithful to serve the kids. People, you see everything in the church.
Before we keep going, let me take a quick moment, and I want to tell you about something we just launched that I think will really bless you. We're a few days into our 25-day Christmas Advent devotional, and the feedback has already been amazing. People are saying it's helping them slow down, breathe, and stay focused on Jesus in the middle of everything this season brings. The joy, the pressure, the memories, and even things that are even maybe painful or heavy. If you haven't joined yet, you're not too late. You can jump in right where we are and follow it all the way through Christmas Day. You can sign up today at adamessa.org, and that's right, it's adamessa.org, super simple, super easy, and what you'll find is our Christmas devotional that we will email you every single day leading up till Christmas. Can't wait for you to join us. Let's jump back into the episode.
For people who are listening too, whether it's audio or watching the video, us talking about the church, some people have a reaction to that. Man, I got hurt there and all this stuff. But a lot of times what I would encourage people who have pain, because pain is real, there's some real stuff, but we don't write off, if we have a bad experience with, let's say, a doctor or any category, we're not writing off everyone. And so I think in the same way with the church, like just finding in your heart to be like, hey, this pain is real, I want to deal with it. But God has a place for you.
For sure.
Right? And God wants to lead you in a place of gathering community. I think the theme, even as we're talking together, one of the things that I think has been so heavy in the midst of all of our stories is gathering and calling, right? And discipleship, right? Like really, and when we think of discipleship for us, what the aspect was, hey, let's just pull the people in our circles. And so whether it be 2 or 3, I love how you mentioned the 3. You mentioned the group of boys that were sixth grade all the way to 12th. My wife, she did about a decade in local church ministry out in a bunch of different places, but she walked with like a group of middle school girls for like the 5 years that she was there, and is still connected. Like 2 of those girls that she walked with, there was like 7 of them. Came to our house like a few months ago, like stayed with us.
Wow.
There's still relationship there. Wow. Like it's so beautiful to see what it looks like. So I think when I think of calling, and I also think of like in the church, the importance of multi-generational. The thing I love about Patriot, I'm sure same with One and All, so many other churches is hey, we're not just talking about one generation. The need for the older generations to champion the younger, and not just look at it. Some of my kind of, if I could be kind of a little cheeky, some people, it's so easy to criticize other generations, right? Mm-hmm. So I was having a dinner with some good friends. They're in their older, like 60s, 70s, very amazing couple, with my wife Chandler there. And there was like a conversation of criticizing the next generation. And I said, hey, listen, the generation you're talking about is the generation you parented. True. So I think in the same way, so it's like the older generation, the younger, the millennial, the Gen Z, the Gen A, we were the parents, or not us, but like you were the parents of that generation. So we're frustrated about something, but the truth is it's so easy to say like, oh, that's the problem, versus being like, no, I want to be a part of that solution. Mm-hmm. And so I think in the same way, that is just an issue that could be trickled down, where it's like, we could be like, whether it's you're an older millennial or Gen X or whatever you're at, and you can say like, man, they don't get it. Well, can we take that opportunity ourselves to say, I want to fill the void and fill the gap, and I want to step into that. So I think of like I think we had this conversation at YA and Friends, because that was so beautiful to see. Like it was a case study where I was saying the idea for that was, and if you haven't seen it, I think it's recorded. You could check it out. But the idea was, could we gather together the top ministries that, one, we're not in competition with each other. We're in competition with the devil, right? And we're going to, plunder hell and populate heaven. And then two, are young adults hungry? And you saw it was insane, the amount of young adults that came together that were hungry to put Jesus on display. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things we talked about when we were discussing that was some misconceptions of the younger generation. And I think a lot of people that are listening, they're like, man, I love your guys' story. I love hearing how you guys started. How can I start? Initially I think of find people you could pour your life into. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's that easy. But I think that's where, and when I say that easy, it's that easy to start, but to be consistent, right? Yeah. Like to truly be like, I'm going to pour my life into these people and I want to walk with them for a year, 2 years, 3 years. You look at Jesus. Jesus chose to flip the world upside down with pouring his life into 12. Mm. And then he had the 120 and then more, and then he had the 3 and the 1. But then in the 12 of Jesus, and one of them betrayed him and did all that stuff. But of those 12, those 11, God flipped the world upside down through Jesus reproducing himself in those people. Yeah. And so we could keep that same model. But when you think of that, as people want to get started, as people want to reach the next generation, what are some, what would you say, man, these are some misconceptions. This is what I would avoid. Like, one of the things that I'm thinking through is, I would avoid people thinking that they have to have all the right answers.
For sure.
Right away. And, youth and young adults, they're so smart where they're like, nah, I'm going to Google it, I'm going to TikTok it, I'm going to chat GPT it, I'm going to check it in. So some of those things, but what are some misconceptions that people have towards the next generation? And then if people are saying, man, I want to get started, whether it's for my calling, I feel like I've been stuck, I want to step out. What would you encourage those people to? But what are the misconceptions? How would you encourage people to get started? What do you think?
I would share the latter. One thing that I learned early on is when I try, I fail. But when I trust, he succeeds. So one of my losses in ministry is I was trying to do everything. Yeah. I was like, let me build, let me gather, let me do all this. And I soon realized that I was getting burnt out. Yeah. And so early on in ministry, I learned I can't do it on my own. Yeah. I need a team. I need to build leaders, kind of like the Model 12. And so from that, I just learned that you can't do ministry alone. Mm-hmm. You need people around you. You need to pour into them so they can pour into the leaders and students. And so early on, I almost wanted to quit. Yeah. Because we had a youth camp. It was my idea. It was a stupid idea, but we decided to bring camp on campus. Instead of going to forest homes, where they have the amenities, the pool, the bungee cord, whatever, we were like, let's just bring it here. Yeah. 500 kids showed up. Not enough bathrooms. Not enough showers. Oh, yeah. We ran out of food the first day. We had to call McDonald's and say, "Hey, could we place the order of 200 nuggets and 300 cheeseburgers in 30 minutes?" They say, "We're gonna have to call other McDonald's. We can make it happen, but it's not guaranteed." So I learned, stop trying to do it on your own. Right. I'm trying to figure this out, but build a team around it. And so, I would say that. Yeah. That's the first thought that came to my mind when you said, what would you encourage other ministries? Like, hey, build the team. Man, build your core. Find your 3, find your 4, and that 4 will find 4, and you have 8, 9, 10, and then from there go,
100%
disciple the students.
And we could talk about our fail stories so much. So if you have a good one that comes to mind, but in those two things of, man, what's a misconception? Like, what would you want to remove off of the next generation? Yeah, because you're in a unique spot. So I'll start with that because you're in both the youth and young adult, which people are connected with it, but not in the space that you are. Mm-hmm. So what would be helpful just as a removing of that misconception?
I would say the first thing I would say is, this perfection mentality. I have to know enough Bible. I have to do enough things. I have to have enough experience. So there's that. You already touched on that. I think the second one that is huge is I think the generation above always feels like they're not needed. Mm-hmm. So I'm Gen Z still. So let's talk about that. We realized the biggest success of our young adult ministry was when we tapped the shoulders of some elders who have money, who have a house to gather people in, who will feed and actually pray and whatever, and they started with 4 young adults. And by the end of the fall semester from August to the winter, December, they went from 4 to 40. because they were just a house that young adults can gather at. And when I talked to them about kind of just like, yo, what the heck, what's up with the success or whatever, we just kind of asked like, hey, you want to do this? So like, yeah, we'll do it. And they realized that we realized that they have sons who are about 28 and 30 who moved away after college and never came back. They grew up in the house but walked away and never came back. And they said, if we would have had a young adult ministry like this when my sons were in this age group, they would have never walked away. There was no place for them. There was no belonging. And we realized, oh my gosh, there is an entire generation above us with a burden for our generation.
Yeah.
But we never figured to tap the shoulder, to ask them, hey, would you want to do this? Would you want to be a part? And so I think our problem as Gen Z, because I hate talking about the problem with other generations.
Yeah.
Our problem with Gen Z is we're afraid to ask. The problem with the generation above us or just intergenerational is like we always feel like we're not needed. So they we didn't even realize we were welcomed here. Like it's for young adults. So like I just figured young adults do young adult things. I think our problem is we're not willing to be submitted. Maybe we're not willing to be pastored, you know, but we need it. And so I think that was earlier on. I think as time has gone by, especially post-COVID, we realized how much we need our spiritual mothers and fathers. But the problem was that they just felt they weren't needed. So now on our young adult nights, most young adults don't even serve. I'm like, your job is to serve in the youth ministry.
Yeah.
And where's the 60-year-olds? So the 60-year-olds are passing buckets during giving and generosity, and they're the prayer team, and they're out there with their oil because they're the ones praying. And again, they're the ones with the resources. Like they're the ones that they can feed a house of young adults every single week because they're like, we don't have anything else to do. Like this is a joy. This is a pleasure. Like this is the way we can serve. And a lot of them were just kind of, they're probably giving.
Yeah.
And they're serving at some capacity, but it's like, this was our burden. We just they didn't know it was there, and we didn't even know it was there. And so when we tapped and we asked, they're like, yeah, you can for sure like use us and use our house, and we'd love to invest into some young adults. And now we have like 80 adults who are above 30 serving into the next generation, mentoring the next generation. But every time I talk to them and I'm like, thank you so much for everything you're doing, they say, I didn't even realize like you wanted me. Or when I ask them, hey, would you want to be a part of this thing? They're like, do you want me? Like, I'm 60. You want an old person for young adults? I'm like, that's the person we need because young adults leading young adults. So, and then the same way it trickles down is it's freed up our young adult ministry for us to say, your job is to serve in kids and youth. So we have high schoolers who are serving with the babies. Yeah. We have young adults who are serving in youth ministry. And so I've been able to just really pretty much just put into motion my senior pastor's vision, because his is like, we want discipleship. We went, our church was so evangelistic for so long, and you know the pendulum swings in the capital C church, so it was all evangelism. We gathered people. We have not pastored them or discipled them well, so we kind of went, how do we disciple better? And instead of going the full swing of being like, let's just cut every service and just start doing Bible studies, it was like, let's just add some discipleship stuff. So my senior pastor, this is what I do. I say, what do you want? This is what he wants. And so we're just fulfilling his mission and vision through my system and strategy of being like, we want the young adults to be mentored and pastored by the adults. We want our young adults to be freed up to serve into youth and kids. And we have high school students who are actually leading in the kids ministry on Sundays. And so there is a really solid, consistent discipleship happening. So good, but the problem was at first, and this is the common thread, is that I just didn't feel like I was needed. The generation of like, I can't believe you asked me. Like, you know, when we ask high schoolers to serve in kids, like, I'm just a high schooler. I'm like, yeah, perfect. Get your butt in there. You know,
for sure.
Young adults, they feel like they don't have it all together. There's some holiness stuff they have to work on. There's some whatever, you know, when I was the first leading small groups, I was still smoking weed.
Right.
You know, like I was still drinking and I had some stuff to work on. I wasn't even 21 yet. But like as I was leading the small group, 18, 19, and I realized, oh my gosh, I'm telling these sixth graders to not do this stuff.
Yeah.
The one thing I'm not is going to like be a hypocrite and do the same exact thing that I'm telling them. So it was funny because I stepped in faith to just help serve because I felt like I needed to serve.
Yeah.
And through that, God actually worked on me. And the reason why I stopped doing those things is because I had to tell people not to do it. And so I wasn't perfect when I first started. And, you know, I'm not saying this is the recipe to find your greatest leaders, but I realized that like when I stepped in and served, when I didn't think I was needed, it actually like transformed more of my life than it probably did some of theirs. And then I kind of walked into everything that I'm doing now. So I would say like, if you don't feel needed, if you don't feel like you have anything to give, your availability is your best ability, right? So you just show up, you say yes. God will use you somehow, some way. If you're an adult above 40, 50, I promise you there is somebody who is in your church who needs a mother or father, who maybe 100%. Has a mother or father wound. Like, go pray about it. The Lord will send them. If you're a young adult, I don't know what to do. Go serve in your youth ministry. Can you sign up to go to the high? Like, there's a person who's, I want to help, but I'm not available this day or this time. I can't do Wednesdays, can't do Sundays. I'm like, are you available Tuesday at 11 or 12 or Thursday at 11 or 12? They're like, yeah. I'm like, great. Your job is to get the Little Caesars pizza and bring it to the campus club. Can you do that? Yeah, I could do that. You know, so I'm working on that now. Right now, I have a pizza delivery guy in our youth ministry. And it's something so small, but everybody has a part to play in the church. And that's how we're the body. We're each a piece. We're each some people are literally just a pinky nail. But like if that's all you can do, then you contribute whichever way you contribute. And so there is room for you. There is a need for you. So whatever it is, I would say that you would just step in, say yes. And then if God moves you or shifts you, then he does that too. The thing I like about your story is like I did youth ministry so well for X amount of years and you stayed in the house, stayed plugged in. You just moved to a different role. Yeah. I think that's some people's story in the house too, is like you, maybe you want to preach and teach and like, that's cool. But if you just start delivering some pizza, that might open the door for you to kind of do some of the other things that may be on your heart or things that maybe aren't on your heart. God will give you more opportunity simply because you were faithful with the little. Just say yes and get plugged in because there is a need. I promise you. You say, we always need more help.
So true.
You come to us and say, I want to be a part. We'll find a place for you.
That's so good. Yeah. And I think it's, for multiple ways, which I love what you shared. You shared from your aspect of Gen Z and then what's needed, because that is one of the greatest needs. We need moms and dads for the next generation. So, and you might hear that, and you might be a mom and dad in your 30s, 40s, 50s. Like, it doesn't mean you have to be in your 50s, 60s to pour in. We're talking about, like you said, a young adult serving the high school. Like, we're talking about like fully doing it and not waiting years to do that. At the same time, we want those 50s, 60s, 70s to be able to pour into, because I think what's so missing and needed is community and true connection.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So in the height and the beauty of what AI and technology and what that's all going to be, what's missing in most people's life. And if you look at young people, they say, I'm connected globally or socially, but I'm not connected like in a community aspect. Yeah. And what's needed is they need to go to a home, have some food, hang out. You don't have to have like all these deep answers. Just open your home and create space. Yes. The best thing you could do in your life is create space. The other thing I think of is like, don't think that you could only impact, and this might just be for the leaders, speakers, pastors, but you don't just, or people that want that, you do not do great impact just from platforms and with microphones at all. The greatest platform is the world, right?
Yeah.
What is I think it's Wesley said the world is my parish. I think it was Wesley, or it could be Whitfield. And what he was saying was, if you look at some of these older kind of revivalists, man, they were going into the fields, into the mines. I think we had talked about this before, where co-workers from the first, second Great Awakening, they were coming out weeping and literal, like they were having like tear marks down because they were getting convicted by the preaching of the word, people getting saved and plugged into the churches. Wow. Whole cities and whole, like, they would have these donkeys or these horses that would kind of transport the coal. They stopped moving because they were using cuss words to tell them to move. They got saved and got convicted. So then the animals weren't listening and moving because they weren't using that same language.
Wow.
And so I think what's beautiful about it is that when I look at the younger generation, and maybe you're in that space listening, man, I love your generation. You might have struggles, but at the same time, God is on it. They're so hungry for spirituality. Yeah. You look at the increase, like you look at even like Stranger Things being like popular, because people want to tap into something greater than themselves.
Yes.
You just look at it and they want that. They want the real, they want the raw kind of truth of what it is, and they're not afraid of that. And so, and then I think on the other aspect is like you think of, like you said, it's like, don't just wait for a platform. Don't just wait for mic. Don't wait for what you want it to be cookie cutter or just like set up for you. No, go to the world, go to the streets, literally like start praying for the high school in your city, start praying for the middle school in your city, start praying for the college in your city, and start creating those spaces. To me, I think of that. And you know, we're going to kind of close it down in a little bit, but I think of the other thought that I had was, what about for the pastors and leaders, right? You had that. I have that a lot too. I know you do as well, where pastors and leaders, we mentioned not only youth pastors, but others, it's a 9-month journey. So many people are reaching out. What do I do? What do I create? Like, I'll say for my aspect, and then I would love to hear from you, H, what you think is, if I could encourage pastors listening or leaders listening, whether it be, pastors, leaders, business, whatever, start to visit other people in your city.
For sure.
Like, I encourage people. I remember I was speaking at it was a youth pastor thing for is a Grace Church down in Houston where Ray is.
Yeah.
And it was just a gathering. I was with Elisha and a few other people, and they were asking questions about like, hey, what would you encourage us to do? And I said, take an hour to 2 hours. If you could take 4 to 5 hours every week and go spend time with another pastor in your city.
Wow.
Like, buy them a meal, buy them a gift, give it to them and say, hey, what's happening? If you like golf like I do, hey, you want to go golfing? If you like baseball, hey, let's go to the batting cage. If you want to, whatever it is, but start to intentionally go out of your way and don't do it for the sake of the relationship. You might not do anything with them, but at the same time, it could broaden your perspective.
For sure.
Go to the Methodist, go to the Presbyterian, go to the Baptist. If you're AG, go to something that's different than you and just say like, man, I just love what's happening. I love what you're doing. Tell me about yourself. Bring them a gift. I mean, it will change your life. And here's what's really cool about it. You will make such close friends. Because a lot of times what happens is in your circle and what you have certain friendships around, but it's those friendships outside that are doing different ministry, right? So we're not in the same church, but it's like being able to talk about different things where it's like different pastors and leaders. Hey, those are the brothers that you'll link arms with. And they might even be like some of your closest friends in the end of the day. So my encouragement for pastors and leaders, because a lot of times it's like, oh, I feel lonely or I want to give up. Man, we all feel that way for sure. Man, be the person that is the one who's intentional and pursuing. Don't wait for someone else to do it for you. So that's one thing that I think of. But like when you think of for the pastors and leaders, like so many reach out to you. I know you talk to so many, but when you're thinking about, especially it's really cool because we're ending 2025, few weeks, we got 2026. When you're talking like, man, if a pastor or leader can implement this in their walk, whether it be youth pastor, young adult, campus pastor, faith, what comes to mind for you?
Yeah, well, when you were talking, funny story is when I was in youth ministry, I think it was my 3rd or 4th year, I made the team pull out the Outreach magazine, look at the top 100 churches, and find a church that's in our range of attendance. Yeah. And every month I had them do a report. Yeah. To call the church, find out their systems. Wow. Find out the vision, find out what works for them. And we would gather in a room, 6 of us, and we would break down each church, Water of Life, Elevation, The Rock, and from that, I think it kind of helped elevated our youth ministry to now look beyond just the scope of like church in the IE. Now we want to reach the masses, we want to go beyond, So,
so good.
So when you were talking, that story popped in my head.
That's
I
cool.
wanted to share that story, but yeah, it kind of goes along what you said. I think find 3 or 4 pastors that you can build and do life with that's outside of your church. Mm-hmm. So that's not in the church. So if it's local, find someone local. I know when I was in youth ministry, it was my guy from Free Chapel.
Jake.
Jake Foucault, and Rich from The Rock. And so them two just kept me accountable. We just built a trust and circle where we shared our struggles, we shared our concerns, we shared our strengths, we shared our lives. I would drive down to go see them. They would drive. So just find 2 or 3 other leaders in the same sphere that you can do life and build life with, and I think that will take you far in whatever capacity you're in, whether it's a campus. Find 2 or 3 guys that are not in your church to build and do life with.
That's good.
So good.
What do you think?
Yeah, I would say same exact thing. I mean, maybe getting a little more practical, detailed. Yep. Is I have, the whole like you got your Barnabas, but then you have your, Timothy kind of thing. So I have people that are above me. I have people that I'm also investing into. So like now I feel like bro. I'm like 10 years in youth ministry, and there's like 20-year-old youth pastors that are calling me asking for advice, and I'm like, oh shoot, I'm the guy that people are calling for, and it's not just like friends. It's like, hey man, I really look up to you. I'm like, that's really crazy because I'm just a kid, Right. But then I have people who are a few years above me that I look up to, and I'm like, oh, is that the same relationship now that I'm a little bit older? Yeah. So I have both. And then I would say, practically taking a little bit deeper is I have different friendships that I go to for different things. Like if I'm going to do a big event, I'm probably going to call you, somebody that I have, like a person who has absolutely changed my life is Pastor Dan Fernandez. Like without him, I don't know where I'd be. I probably would have quit ministry a long time ago. That's cool. But I realized as I've just been teaching and preaching that that's a gift that's on my life. Yeah. And so he's a person that I go to for that specifically. Now we're friends bigger than that. Our birthdays and all that kind of stuff. Like he's one of my best friends. But if I'm talking teaching and preaching and like that skill in and of itself, like that's who I'm calling all day long. I'm texting him, hey, this observation. He'll text me back like, well, he's out the shower and then it's midnight and he's sleeping and I'm texting him something. So we just have like this thread all day long. We're just talking about different things we've seen and building on thoughts. And so a lot of my sermons is like that's my message, but it ran through him already because I have like accountability in my teaching and preaching. Yeah. There's other leadership stuff too that I go to for different friends for like leadership stuff. And so I think even compartmentalizing I have like my best friends who I can never talk to them about ministry because we're just friends.
Yeah.
But there are other ones that if I want to like improve myself or I want to strengthen myself in some of my weaker areas, then I need to go to them for those things. And then the friend that won't judge, the one that'll also tell you when you're out of line, you're out of pocket, and you need to go to apologize to your senior pastor. You need those kind of friends too. The ones that are going to be real with you because, you know, you guys know better than anyone. There's some things that you will do. You could preach a bad message, and 90% of people will say that was great,
Right?
It's amazing,
Right?
But who's like the inner circle of people that are gonna be like, yo, you were off tonight.
Yeah.
That wasn't good. I probably wouldn't say that like that. You probably should chill on these things. You know,
Right,
like you
right.
gotta have the people that are gonna be honest, real, transparent, vulnerable, fill in the blank with the word.
That
but
roast
they're just gonna be so real, you know. And I have those. Like, so the people that are invited to my house all the time, like my inner circle of ministry friends, where I'm like, hey, I need more of this, or I need more of this. I need you guys to step up here. I need you guys to do these things. They're gonna tell me it was good, but they also really tell me when I'm off, when I'm wrong, when I'm bad, when I need to figure it out, when I give off unhealthy tendencies, you know. And in the same time, what's required of me though is the ability and the access for them to tell me that. The humility to be like, hey, I need you guys to know, like, this is kind of what I struggle with. Like, I can be a prideful person, or I do think I am bigger than other things, or I do think that, you know, I can throw the biggest event, or you fill in the blank of what you know, so that's just my personal stuff.
Yeah.
So then because they have the lens to look through that, they can tell me this is where you need to get better. Hey, I saw some unhealthy or whatever. And I think as you're building a relationship with other pastors, as you're leaning on one another, you also should have the posture in order to receive, because I've had plenty of interactions with other pastors where they ask questions or they want help or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, so we talk for an hour. And then you can just tell, like, as you're talking, they're just trying to maybe like tell you how great they are, like the next platform they're preaching on.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, this is that kind of friendship I thought maybe,
for sure.
you know, so there is a responsibility on our end as we're talking with other leaders, preachers, and it doesn't even have to be other pastors and leaders. It can be someone in your house who maybe nobody really knows, has the gift of knowing you.
Yep.
So I would say rely on those people, because they'll be honest with you, they'll be with you, and that's how you get better. And then
True.
if you're better, if you're healthy, the church, the ministry, everything else is healthy as well.
That's so true.
That's so dope. Yeah,
That's so
cool,
good.
bro.
Any thoughts? Alizé, who's back there? Andy, you have any questions? Huh? Just think about it. Think about it. Alizé. She's open. I think they're both giving their life to the Lord, you know, now. No, you know, as we kind of close it down, and maybe we could talk. Here's my final thoughts, and then we'll kind of close it. It's kind of fun. I mean, went in the next gen space and got to encourage, you know, but that's what's cool is like what's really cool is like we have the ability to see impact wherever we go. And so I think like even when we talk about the pastors and leaders or influence or whatever aspect that is, and going back to how we just even initially talked about calling versus influence versus clout, all those different things. And I'm thinking, man, build like the future truly is, again, and I'm going to pivot it because a lot of it, we're talking ministry, but there's not a lot of people, some people that's listening or many people that listen, like I'm not in ministry, how does this pertain to me? Well, the future is collaboration. Yes. It truly is. That's right. In whatever sphere that you're in. Also, the future is not that one man or one woman ministry. It's a team.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like just knowing that, and everyone knows that, and that's where we're seeing, but fall in love with the team, right? That's one thing, even one of my favorite things that we get to do here at Patria is we have a team for the weekend preaching moments that Pastor Adam pulled together. And there's like 8 to 10 of us that sit around for 2 hours on Tuesdays from 1 to 3. And we all get to bring our gifts to the table to really craft of what that looks like. Obviously, as the senior pastor is Adam, and whoever's speaking will lead it towards it. But it shows the value in team, and it's made all of us so much better. It's
great.
And so I think the value for team and collaboration and just getting started. I was thinking about this when you guys were both kind of talking. What was hitting me is thinking about the Bible verses where it says that your word is a lamp to my feet, right? Mm-hmm. A light to my path. And I think a lot of people don't get started in their calling or what they have because they don't have, whether it be the resources, the relationships, or like I call it, the roadways, right? But really what you want to do is we want this full bright picture. We want these spotlights on our life to say, this is what you're going to do. This is your 5-year, 3-year plan, 5-year, 10-year, 15-year. No, start walking towards it, because it says the word says is a lamp to our feet.
Yeah, that's great.
It doesn't say it's the sun to our life, right?
Yeah.
No, it says like, what's a lamp to our feet? It shows us the next step.
Yeah.
And so my encouragement for people who are feeling stuck or wanting to step into their calling or in any aspect is just take that. What's that next step? And what's going to be the lamp to our feet is the Word of God.
Yes.
Good.
Falling in love with the Word and knowing all these things that we all shared. And I think that, man, also asking yourself, man, and I love what you shared, Allan, where you said, have those people that could hold you accountable. That accountability, those people that could love on you and roast you at the same time, you know, and call you higher. Haron is the meme king. You know, you don't want to get in a battle with Pastor Haron. But here's the thing is, like, have those moments where we don't take ourselves so seriously, but we have that accountability and that brotherhood
for sure,
or that sisterhood that can bring us together forward. And so that to me is my aspect, is my encouragement for people listening, for people watching, for people wondering, because there's so many people that say, man, this next generation is too far gone. No, they're not.
No way.
They ain't cooked. They're cooking, right? And at the same time, we need your voice. We need who you are. We need what you're called to in the value for those things. So in your guys' benediction as we end, what would you encourage as people are listening, feeling stuck, all those things? What would you say?
Yeah, I would say this. I'm trying to gather like a final statement. I would say this. We talked about clout. Influence, right? Would you say it's influence?
Yeah, influence. Yeah.
I would say like influence or clout or gifting opens the door. Calling keeps the door open, but your character keeps you in that room.
Yeah. Right.
And I would say as you figure out, you know, where you're called to, make sure that your character, integrity, your humility keeps you there. You know, I think about that song Lecrae sang it in one of her first albums. It's called "Send Me," and the Bible says, "Send me, I'll go." Right, and I think when you have that posture of humility, but then also knowing that, hey, my gifting will take me to places. That call of God will keep that door open, but what's going to keep me in that room is my character. Mm-hmm. You know, character is what people see. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Integrity is what God sees.
Yeah.
And so work on that, work on your character, work on your integrity. Mm-hmm. Make sure that, you know, you're in line with all that in the Word, and hide yourself in that. Hide yourself in humility. Hide yourself in integrity. Hide yourself in all those things. And I think God will elevate you to places where He needs you to go.
So good. So good.
I guess, just for the everyday person, maybe not ministry or just, you know, anyone. I like the idea that you were talking about. Yeah, the lamp into my, like, there is the Word of God. I feel like we just got to be in that, and that's all just assumed with everything that we're talking.
Totally.
You know, there's times where I talk about preaching and stuff like that. They're like, well, what about the prayer? I'm like, this is assuming that you're already praying, right? So this is, I think, you need the Word of God, but it's also important to like get a word from God. Like, there are certain words that I've gotten from the Lord that have anchored me for a season. Yeah. When I talk about youth ministry, and I talk about a dream, you know, it's like I was reading Judges, and the verse that convicted me was talking about there was a whole generation that grew up after Joshua and didn't know God. Mm-hmm. There are words that I've gotten, like the word that changed my life when I was in the wishy-washy faith was Stephen Furtick's sermon clip. And it was before Instagram had Reels. It was just a video, and it couldn't go longer than 59 seconds. But he said, in order for you to have the life that God has for you, you have to leave what's comfortable. And I would realize, oh my gosh, like, you know, so like there are certain words that have marked my life, whether it be a season of faithfulness, whether it, like, whatever it is, when you are going through things, when you get your face in that book, what do they say? You read it, but it also reads you. Yeah. That you can anchor yourself in a word. And sometimes it's for a season, sometimes it's for a lifetime. But I look at, even when Paul writes to Timothy, like, you know, you fought the good fight, you ran the race, you finished it. Like, that stuff is life verse for my life. I think about, I'm a creative person, and I think about, sometimes I'm like, maybe I box myself in too much, but I think about Ephesians 3:20, that God can do exceedingly abundantly more than I could ever ask, think, or imagine. So what's the word? If I can imagine it, God can exceed it. So there's so many things that I live in my life, so many values that I have. There's a lens that I look through life, because I got like, not just the Word of God, but through the Word of God, I got a word from God. And those things you got to anchor yourself in. That's a conviction that maybe only you have. It's a word that's maybe only for you.
That's good.
Some are, you know, to reach the masses. Like, you may get a word from God to do the thing, the calling, right? But there's just a life that, like, Jesus is the prize. Like, I think any success that I've had, any clout, influence, whatever you want, favor, it's just been because, like, when I was a kid, all I had was Jesus, you know? And then I started doing ministry because I felt like Jesus was calling me to that. And then I started having a heart broken for people. And this last couple of years, I just kind of gone through like a really crazy sickness. And I think one of the biggest lessons I learned from it is that God can strip the ministry away and I still have Him. Mm-hmm. And I think some of my greatest success in ministry over the last couple of years has happened because I kind of finally understood that. To me, like, success in ministry was synonymous with my relationship with Jesus. Right. Yeah. For others, maybe you're in the business field or the marketplace and you got all this money, and it's like, well, yeah, it's Jesus and the bread I'm making, you know? But at the same time, I just feel like it's like when I just got a word from God and I just have the word of God, like that is enough to anchor me through the tough season. It's enough to allow me to persevere. It's enough to give me the strength. I look at life through a different lens because I got a word from God. So that's my encouragement to anyone who's listening. Like, read your word first of all. Get a word from God. How do I know if it's like the voice of the Lord giving me something? Well, it's got to sound like Him. How do you know it's not a word from God? Well, it doesn't sound like His word. But you're not going to know if it's a word from God if it doesn't sound like His word. So you got to read that Bible. You got to know that Bible. It feeds you. It sustains you. And when you can read that word, you get a word from God. Anchor yourself in that.
It's like that kid song, "Read Your Bible, Pray Every Day."
It's almost like they knew something.
They knew it. No, I think, we're ending the plane, we're landing it, but I just think that it's so profound to know that we are all called as believers. And if you're listening and not a believer, we welcome you in. You could be a believer right now. But we're all called to be on mission. And our mission is to the broken, the lost, to people. And so don't feel like, I'm not a pastor, so I can't disciple. No, ask the Lord this. This is an easy, simple thing, and we'll end the plane. Lord, would you give me my 3? That's what I would encourage everyone who's listening. God, would you give me my 3? Maybe you don't even have 3. Maybe you're such an introvert. Then pray, God, give me 3, right? Give me 3. And I love it because you need people like Allan mentioned. You need the mentors, right? You need the moms and dads and mentors. You need the brothers and sisters. And then you need those that you're pouring into, the sons and daughters, right? You need those above you, those you can lock arms with, and those below you that you could pour your life into. And we all have something to pour in. And I think one of the great ways, I don't know why, but I keep thinking of like some of us, we feel this at the end of the year, maybe people listening, you feel like you're in a rut. To get out of the rut, I've said this from the stage here at Patriot and other places, the Dead Sea is dead because it doesn't have an outlet. What's pouring into the Dead Sea and the Sea of Galilee is thriving with life. The Dead Sea is dead because the Sea of Galilee has an outlet. The Dead Sea does not. And so if we don't have an outlet and we'll feel ourselves feel stuck and not have life in us, so my encouragement would be, man, just know God's doing something special, not only in your life, but there are 3 God has for you to pour your life into. And it doesn't have to be deep. You could literally just pull up a podcast. You could read a book. You could just do activities, but just know those 3 people, let's say you're in your 30s, get 3 people that are in their early 20s or teenagers. Let's say you're in your 50s. God has 3 people for you in your 20s and 30s to pour your life into. And the more we do that, the more we will see it replicated and see not only our calls and desires in our life, but to start to see the next generation and really tap into it. So that'd be my encouragement for it. And I pray that this was helpful. I believe it was. I know, just so grateful for Pastor Allan to be here and Pastor Haron. And these are goats. And again, like I said, last thing I would say is don't just try and get information from the people we want. Like, I want to get, if only Judah would mentor me.
Yeah, that's a whole other podcast. Let's talk about that.
If only Furtick would no. Find people in your own church or your own sphere or your city that are not as known. Find people, theologians in history. Like you were mentioning this, right? You were saying theologians that you would look up and then you would preach their sermons, You weren't waiting for the top person to give you anything. So I would say that too is like, as a little bonus added moment, don't just look for the people in high influence. Just know that there's people around you that you can pour into. But anyways, hope that's helpful, encouraging. We love you guys. And we'll see you next time.
See ya.
Peace.